Hello, my name is Tom Stiles, and this is Tom's Radio Room show number 291. What you're looking at is my new Sony ICF-SW7600GR AM/FM shortwave radio. And it was donated to me via a credit from one of my subscribers who wanted me to review this radio and compare it to some other radios that I have. And I announced that comparison that I was going to do in show number 286. And I'm going to, once I do the initial review of this radio, then I'm going to do a show comparing this radio with three other radios. And the three other radios are the Texan PL880, the Sangean ATS-909X, excuse me, the Texan PL660, and this is the fourth radio. So I'm going to compare those four radios. So today we're just going to talk about this radio right here, this Sony radio. And I'm going to use my report card. Here it is, my report card that I use when reviewing radios. And we'll be talking about the look and feel of the radio, the readability of the display and the controls, the power options, tuning, how you tune a radio, the audio quality, any special features that the radio has. And then on a separate show, we will do a reception test. Now, bringing that up, I typically don't like to get these reviews out of order. I typically want to do the overall review of the things I just mentioned, plus then another show of the reception report. Well, weather conditions and atmospheric conditions have been so bad for the past 3 weeks that I haven't finished the review of the Grundig G2, specifically the reception testing. Now, there was about 3 or 4 days, I think it was last week, that conditions were good, but I was tied up with other things, going to the doctor, didn't get a chance to do it. So anyway, weather conditions are bad again this week, so I thought I would go ahead and skip ahead to this radio, and then when conditions get good again, I'd go back, do the G2, and then do the shootout and reception testing of this Sony radio. So that's the plan. Be it good or bad, that's the plan. So let's look at these things for this radio. So we'll start with look and feel of the radio. The first thing that caught my eye, or that I noticed, was this radio is quite heavy. You know, it's not real big, size of my hand, but it's really ruggedly built. Feels good. And the finish, I really like the finish of it. I don't like the readability, and I'll get to that in a few minutes, and I'll tell you why. The keys, the key presses feel very good, very tactical, pressing the keys. So I like that. Now, it does not have a tuning wheel. And let me get the old camera to zoom in here so you can see a little closer. And we'll have to slide down. There we go. So it doesn't have a tuning wheel, except it does have a fine tuning for single sideband tuning, BFO basically. The tuning is done via these buttons here. And if you're not familiar with using those buttons for tuning, it might take a little getting used to it. Now, I have another version of the Sony radio that's similar to this and has the same type of tuning, so I'm used to it. Doesn't bother me. But for some people who like the tuning dial, this may be a deal killer, I'll call it. So that's one thing. Now, let's go around and look at a couple other things. It does have, as far as look and feel, it does have a stand on the back to stand the radio up. Seemed to work fine. While we're on look and feel, the one thing I noticed right away is the way this antenna, telescopic antenna, works. I don't like it. And maybe it's just this radio, but it makes you wonder. Okay, you do this, and it will swivel in one direction, you know, up and down. That's it. To be able to swivel it in a circle so that when you set it back on the stand, the antenna is facing straight up, not straight out, but straight up, you have to pull this out a little further. And now if I go to the back, you can see this has been extended a little bit. You know, so here's the extension. And that gives you these swivel capability. One thing is, it's kind of stiff, and I'm always concerned about breaking these antennas. It's kind of stiff. Now, the other thing is, and I still haven't discovered why, or what's going on here, is somewhere in these links or whatever, it's loose. So the antenna is wobbly. See that? I tried to tighten all the possible screws, which there's one here, and then there's one down, oops, I missed a finger here, one down here, and they were tight, so I didn't want to over tighten them. So that's a little bothersome. Just have to be extremely careful with that. So that's kind of look and feel. It does come with this little handle thingy. It's already attached. I don't know how much trouble it would be to take it off, but it's already attached. Excuse me. My sinuses are messed up with this change in weather. So, apologize. So, look and feel. Because of that antenna that doesn't feel too good, I'm going to give it just a B. I mean, I like the case, I like the buttons. They feel good. They're not wobbly. But with that antenna connection, I'll give it a B. So that's B on, hello, back here, on look and feel. Now, readability. And like I say, that's two different things. One is the readability of, whoops, just kicked the daggum camera. The readability of the buttons and the writing here is very good. Even with my poor eyes, I can read all this stuff. But, and here's a big but, this display, yeah, it's poor. It is poor. It's, number one, it's so small. And let me turn it on here. Okay, there is a button to turn this on someplace, isn't there? Oh yeah, here we go. Whoa, can't play. Oop, don't want to play commercial music. But anyway, I just did a quick look. Let me get the volume down, which that should be down. No, that's up. I don't know what it is about radios from Asia. To me, all the controls seem backwards. And obviously there was a prime example of what I think seemed backwards. But anyway, there's the display showing the frequency. It's an FM station. Not a lot of information either. Not a lot. Doesn't even have an indication of the power of the battery. Doesn't have a battery status, which I usually don't pay that much attention to, but doesn't even have that. So boy, readability, I'm going to have to give it a low rate. Great. You know, sorry I have to do that. I mean, the keys, yes. Okay, so that gives me half of the two categories. It's an A. So, but the display, and the display is so poor, I'm going to give it a D I'm going to give it a D. I'm really going to be harsh on it. I'm going to give it a D. I really don't like this display. Now, this radio originally came out in the 7600D version, and that was like in 1980s. So, and then this version came out about 2000. So it kind of, back then when they had LCDs displays, they were small. They're all small. So it's not that this one is any smaller than other ones during this era. So I'm still going to give it a D for readability. Okay, the next one is power options. Okay. Did I say okay a couple of times already? I'll try not to do that again. Here is the port. Wait a minute. Where's not even in the picture? Gosh, come on. Well, I'm using Mr. Finger, so I could blame it on him. Okay. Yeah, what we need to do is we need oh, here is just, I was going to use this to prop the radio up. Here is the manual in another book, and like most Sony radios, the manual is huge, and they go through a lot of details, so I always like the Sony manuals. So we're going to use that manual to stand this up a little higher, move this over out of the way, and then we're going to zoom in. Hopefully what I want to show you doesn't disappear. Yeah, it did. Let me see if I can move the camera down. Move the camera down. Okay. So now you, come on, you can see all the controls and everything that this radio has just on this one side alone. The bottom one is the one I wanted to talk about, which is the AC power adapter input down here. So it has, and it requires 6 volts. Guess what? You don't get any AC adapter. At least not with this package that I bought off of Amazon. Maybe there are other packages which they include the AC adapter. This one does not. So much for that. The other power capability is via batteries, and it requires, my memory is not too good, it requires, let me open it up. There we go. Requires 4 AA batteries. That wasn't easy to do. Nice strong battery case. Look at that reflection. Yeah, I thought I broke the radio. Look at that reflection there. So that's the power source, is either AA batteries or an AC adapter. The AC adapter, if you buy the AC adapter, you can't put rechargeable batteries in here and expect it to charge the batteries while they're in the radio. Doesn't have that capability either. Now, so that's power options. So we're going to give power options. It's got the capability you want, you know, convenient AA batteries and a jack to run it off of AC power, but no adapter. So it's going to lose a grade point because it didn't come with the AC adapter. So I'm going to give it a B. Being very generous there. Okay, tuning, as I mentioned before, it does not have a tuning knob. Here is what you tune it with, is these push buttons. Or if you go into single sideband mode, which I forgot to mention, it does receive single sideband, you fine tune it with a knob here. I mean a thumb wheel here. So you do have fine tuning, conventional fine tuning I call it. So like I say, I'm used to using these push buttons, so it doesn't bother me. Some people that might bother them. I'm going to give it a C, just because it doesn't have, for the main tuning, it doesn't have a knob. I think that's important. Okay, audio quality. I've used it on AM and FM. I haven't used it on shortwave because weather conditions are so bad. But the FM stereo quality, although it only has one speaker, has been good, very good. So I'm going to give that Since it only has one speaker, but shortwave usually only has one speaker, I'm going to give it a B. Yeah, the FM sounded very good on this internal speaker. I'm going to give it a B. Now, special features, and I'll go through all the connections and stuff on the side to indicate the special features. Number one, as I said before, it does have single sideband capability. It also has the capability of using an external antenna. It's got a jack for it. You don't have to clip it onto the telescopic antenna. It has a on-off for the antenna attenuation, plus it has a thumble wheel for controlling the antenna attenuation. Very good feature. Next is a line out. That is a great feature for people like myself who does recordings off a radio. That having that line out, that's a fixed output of the audio, is a great feature. It has the headphones jacks and then the power jack. Now we'll go to the other side. And this, it's funny, this, let me see if I can get a little more light on it. It doesn't show up too well because black on black on black. And that's one thing I don't like is not just radios, but all kinds of electronic devices. When they put gray lettering on black, what do you guys think? I mean, put white on black, not gray. So anyway, it's, you know, I have to kind of turn my head out sideways and upside down to read this. But anyway, the top is a thumb wheel for tuning BFO. The next one down is for selecting upper sideband or lower sideband. The next one down is for normal AM reception versus single sideband. The next one down is the tone control. It's just two positions, either news it's called or music. There's no thumble wheel. And then the bottom thumble wheel down here is the volume control. That's the volume control. So as far as features, the controls and connectors, you get a lot of features. Now, this also has, get Mr. Finger here to help me out, it also has memory banks. I think it's 100 channels of storage. And you can use a couple of different modes for tuning. And I'll get into that when I'm talking about the tuning section. And it also has a daylight savings time option, which I used. And you can set up a time zone other than your own to just have it show you the time in that area of the world. It has a sleep functions, as most of these radios have. And of course the direct tuning keypad here, which works quite well. And that's about it, about features. So, set this back here so it didn't fall down. So for special features, I'm going to give it an A. Got lots of connectors, jacks, stuff like that. Now, reception we can't do yet because the weather conditions are bad. Now, I'm going to go back 1 second and I'm going to talk about tuning again. This has a number of tuning methods. You can either tune using these buttons down here, or you can tune using the keypad, direct tuning, or you can scan the memory channels that you've stored, tune that way. So you get a lot of options for tuning. Now, what does that give us so far on our report card for this radio? It's a little, something I should mention because I just noticed it then, it's a little wobbly, which unbelievably many of these shortwave radios, these small shortwave radios, are a little top heavy. So you have to be careful you don't knock it over. Well, that's just kind of almost all the radios about this size have that shortcoming, I'll call it. So, how are we doing on our report card? Okay, look and feel. Whoops, nothing like kicking the camera. Could blame that on Mr. Finger, but he didn't do it. Look and feel, I gave it a B. Readability, and because of that display, I had to give it a D. But like I say, it's not unique to this radio. You know, radios that were designed back then when the LCD displays first came out had a really small display. Oh, the other, I definitely give it a D, and I'll tell you why now. Because it has a light button right here. So at least it has a button. See if I can turn some lights off. So you can see it's green, and it looks good. The only problem is I have found no way to keep the light on. See, it just went back off. So this time I'll try push and hold. Okay, well, as long as I'm holding it, it's still on. Now it went off. So I don't know any way to keep the backlight on, which I like to do, because quite often I'll be in a dim lit room. That's dim lit. Not, oh well. And I like to have the display on. I don't mind the fact that it's chewing up battery power. There's no way to keep that turned on. And you'll see on some of the other radios I review, there is an option to keep it on. And let me turn the radio on. So it's on now, and the backlight didn't come on when I turned it on. That's a negative. And when I push buttons, it doesn't come on like other radios do. So the only way to get the backlight on is push the backlight button, and it only stays on for about 10 seconds, and it goes off. So back to, let me turn this off, back to the report card. That's another reason for this D is the backlight. Very poor functional backlight. The quality is good, but it just doesn't give you any options. Power options, I gave it a B, although it's missing an AC adapter, but maybe other packaging would include the AC adapter for a few dollars more. I don't know. Tuning, the little bit of tuning that I've done on AM and FM was fine, except you do have to use these buttons to tune. I think that would be a drawback for a lot of people, so I only gave it a C. Audio quality on AM and FM, I have not tried shortwave, was very good. Sound quality was very good, I gave it a B. Special features, it has a lot of special features and jacks, stuff like that. I gave it an A. So let me kind of look over this and see what we've got so far. Because we haven't done reception, I would say we're running probably probably a C+. I think we're running right now about a C+, maybe a B. And I think the key on this radio, as far as its overall score, is going to be reception. And what I've read so far on reviews on the internet is this radio, compared to other radios, this radio has very good reception. The other thing it does have, as far as special feature, it does have an AM synchronous detector circuit. And I know I think Sony was the first one that came up with that circuitry, and I know on my other Sony radios, much older vintage than this one, the synchronous detection circuit worked very well compared to new radios that have added it, like the Texan and some of the other ones. They don't seem to work very well. So that's where we are. Like I say, I will be doing a shootout of this radio against 3 other ones as far as reception capability. And I also would do and I'll use that for the reception part of this review for this radio. And I've also got to do the G2, which I'm not including in that 4 to test, as far as the reception reports. So that's the show for today. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. If you have any comments, please leave a comment. If you enjoyed this show, please give me a thumbs up. That tells me that I'm providing shows of interest that people like. I'm providing shows that you like. Okay. If you didn't like this show, give me a thumbs down. I'll move on to something else. Maybe I'll review birdseed. I don't know. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.